Welcome to another episode of Crypto Posse. Yeah, boys. Here we are, early spring 2025. Things are clicking out there. It's a lot going on. So why don't we just jump right in? And I'm just going to say, Jeff, what do you got for us this morning?
Well, today I got for you the 4-year XRP case is finally over.
Nice. That is a big one. Tell me more.
Long time coming. Well, the SEC just dropped its appeal, basically. So I know it's been going on for a long time. I know a lot of XRP people love XRP and they've been waiting. And it's just that happened last Wednesday on the 19th. I think it's also good for other similar crypto classified as digital commodities as well, and not securities. So I think that gives just a little bit of good hope.
Is that like a boost, kind of a boost moment in the world of crypto?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I get a sense that it's kind of been really kind of dwarfed. It's been, held back. It's been a big discussion for years. And a lot of people were just like, what's going on with this? It seemed to be a constant thing. So for that to be finally lifted, and apparently the SEC has finally decided to become a little, relax a little bit on their whole program, right? Trying to be whatever they're trying to be. I don't know. But what would you see would be the overall, I know it's like you don't have a crystal ball, but what would you think would be the overall effect on the crypto space as a result to that one move?
I think it's a win, but I think it's a better win for XRP in the future. Um, I think part of it too. I think it was Gary Gensler was the head of the SEC that created all this, and he's now gone. Brad Garlinghouse is the CEO of Ripple and XRP. And a little background: XRP is the token to Ripple, formerly Ripple Labs, which is a U.S. computer tech company. And they have Ripple payment on the XRP ledger for an exchange network, and that's basically what Ripple does. I mean, they seem like a great company. I watched 60 Minutes a few months ago with Brad Garlinghouse in 60 Minutes. I didn't really get a whole lot out of it, but it seems like they have things together. What's interesting is the day that happened on Wednesday, the 19th, XRP went up 10%. The market was a pretty bleak market anyways, but if you would have thought maybe this would have happened in summertime when XRP was around, 40, 50 cents, that we would have probably got, 50 to 100% gain. It's just kind of timing because, XRP being where it is, I think it's 240-ish today. The market cap's a lot higher. So with the news, it just didn't seem like, 10% was a modest gain.
Yeah, you would have thought it could have been more, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
who knows where that'll go?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the future for XRP, that out of the way, it looks good.
I got a question for you, Jeff.
Yes,
When it comes to XRP, have you come across anything that has to do with the term the Howey test and the relation
absolutely.
between the XRP?
Yeah. The Howey test is an SEC criteria of four things: investment of money, expectations of profit, common enterprise, and reliance on efforts on others.
Right.
And that's where it failed. Great question.
Yeah,
Interesting.
man. If I may add to what you just said, the way that I perceive this Howey test is that it's almost like, and thank God Gary Gensler's not in office anymore, because he literally was almost single-handedly holding back this technology. Whole separate conversation on my opinion on why. But the Howey test to me is kind of like that regulatory framework. And it seems like XRP is that golden child that kind of, is setting that standard.
Absolutely.
XRP is the golden child. Now that it's become, kind of it's set loose in a way, or cut loose, is it free to become more golden?
That's a good question, and I love what Jeff was touching on, which is if you go back to July 13th of 2023, when you look at that spike, it has everything to do with what Jeff just mentioned, which is the market cap back then. I mean, you've got XRP trading at a low around that time, about 47 cents. So Jeff is absolutely right. The market cap back then was lower. So it's easier to see a big boost in the price, which it did. And actually, on that day, we had $2.5 billion injected. This is coming from the chart on July 13th, 2023. And that's a 73% gain. So I'm just adding a little bit of a foundation to what Jeff is sharing, whereas, and that's when they supposedly won the case, right? And now what you're talking about, Jeff, is how fast forward to what just happened, they just dropped the appeal. So it seemed like XRP I had already won the case. The SEC was trying to appeal that victory. And then, like Jeff mentioned, you only get a 10% tick up in price. Whereas
Huh.
back then, you got 73%.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
maybe what's happened is, like you've said before, Will is and Jeff is, it was kind of priced into the market where they kind of knew had expectations of this case being dropped, especially with Gary Gensler being out of there and a more pro crypto uh, SEC chairman in there. So I think it was probably priced into it, and that's all we got was a 10% gain. But looking forward, I think XRP has, definitely some momentum. I think it's going to do well in the future.
You think XRP will be at 1,000 one day? It's at 240 now.
No, I don't think it's ever going to be 1,000, but you never know. It might be 100 or a couple $100. I mean, if you look
Well,
at,
isn't it? Well, what is it now?
it's about 240, 247, kind of in that range right now.
247.
No, $2.47.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So 1,000. I was getting a little too happy. I was
Yeah.
looking for. I was looking for my own cash injection. I love that when Will said they took in like what was it, 2.5 injection. I was like, man, how do I get one of those injections? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I know that's what it's all about, but that's just my little fantasy. But anyways, yeah, I just would say maybe it would go to maybe 100 one day, 50, 40. I don't know. I mean, we don't know, but it's just seeing what, I guess it's always this thing for me when I see what originally Bitcoin started at and like what it is. God, I mean, I think I know some people that bought it with Bitcoin when it was like $3 or some insane reality, you know. God, like there's some people that bought it when it was just brand new, and God, what would that be like? But so XRP, I know it's a new world. People know more about it, so it probably doesn't have that mystifying quality that early Bitcoin had when people didn't know what it was. But yeah, it just interests me because there's a lot of talk about XRP and the whole Ripple and just the whole thing has always been kind of mystifying to me. So great news that the SEC decided to, cut back on the appeal and let things kind of, take the chains off the horse, really let it run.
I just was going to ask Jeff, when you've come across XRP, right? Because we've been talking about this coin for years, and it's really nice to see that they've chosen why I called it the golden child is because it seems to be, just to sum it up, regulatory framework, which is what this space needs. Because currently, and it's been like this since I've been in the crypto space, we call it the wild, wild west, which is why a lot of scams happen. And we'll touch on that later on in this episode.
And back when, when we first started trading together, I mean, Will was all XRP. I liked it too, but you were like the XRP army, right? That's what they call their following, and you held so much of it. Uh, It's just you had the belief a long time ago, and here we are today. You know, quite amazing.
Was that belief because you believed that it would blow up, or because it was really solid in sense of the service that they provided, or both?
I'd say like a little bit of both. Um, I first really got really invested into XRP because of the technology. The technology basically, and I've used it personally, so I do know what I'm talking about. You could move large sums of money lightning fast. And I'm talking like if you were to move upwards of six figures, it only costs 25 cents and about 20 seconds for me to move that.
Wow.
And you brought up that point too right now, Jeff, uh, Joseph. It's borderless, right? It's like if I hop on a plane right now and I got 10 grand on me, I got to fill out all this paperwork and where'd you get the 10 grand and what are you going to do with this money? Whereas if I just carry around, one of these cold storage wallets, you know, who goes to say I'm not carrying, large sums of money on that same flight, same destination, but no questions, no paperwork. And if it is question, it's like, oh, that's my flash drive that's for work. Super simple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in
Awesome.
traditional finance, it would be virtually impossible to do something like that. It's pretty amazing that that's possible in this day and age. That that's what's so great about digital currencies and stable coins moving forward, and it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly is exciting from that perspective, and pretty much every other perspective, other than, if you come in and lose a bunch of money, that's probably not exciting. But I mean, that's true of anything, really. I mean, other than having some sort of, corporate job with a salary and all that, I mean, that's one kind of safe way to go in terms of that. But if you're really more of an adventurous person, or an entrepreneur, or an investor, or just, someone that, you know, wants to invest into the possibility of the who knows, the mystery of it all, because no matter what, we don't know. And that's part of what's exciting. That's part of why it could make the kind of money that Bitcoin early on till today, it's made super wealthy. But along the way, I'm sure a lot of people have lost a lot of money as well. It's just like going to the racetrack in its own way, right?
Right. Right. And I love what you had brought up too, Jeff. You brought up this term, the XRP army. So
Mhm.
even though I was heavily invested, right, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I'm not into the XRP army. You have uh these groups, to say it nicely, because I've heard it also said it gives off these cult vibes,
I was
right?
gonna say that.
And it's crazy because, and I know you know this too, Jeff. How many times have you literally heard XRP is going to $589? Like specifically that amount, right?
Wow.
They're married to that, which that's cool, right? If that's how you think and that's what works for you, flow with it, right? But why would we be entertaining that dollar or that evaluation? Because one, you can get technical and look at, okay, well, how much money would have to be injected into that project at this current market cap to make it do those type of exponential numbers? I mean, you're talking trillions of dollars, and we're at trillions of dollars for the whole crypto space. So I'm not saying it's not possible, but dude, let's be realistic, right? And this is that esoteric that I bring. So if you actually add 5 plus 8 plus 9, that equals 22. And then technically on the chart, I would probability based, it's a higher probability that we get to a $22 evaluation for XRP, but we can't entertain that because it hasn't even broken out into what we call price discovery, which is when price goes above its all-time high, and its all-time high is around like $3.50, depending on what exchange you're looking at. So I like to ground, take that breath, take that step back and be realistic. And this is what I see. I think narratives like that are happening because by the time XRP gets to, five, six, $7, even double digits, call $10, right? Would you sell your XRP at $10 with this hope in the back of your mind? It's going to 589. I can't sell it at $10. You're trapped because XRP is known, like that point that I brought up, in January or July 13th, price pumps, you get to a high of about 94 cents and it goes from about 47. But if you fast forward to August 17th of 2023, you now have a low of 42 cents. So it literally went from this spike up in price and then it goes below the breakout price. And XRP is known for what you call a turnaround trip. So if you don't take profit and you invest it at, call it 50 cents as an example, you literally saw your portfolio go from 50 cents value to 94 cents value to 42 cents value. So that's where taking profits really comes in and not getting married. And I love this saying, don't hate it, don't date it, trade it.
To me, that sounds like another bumper sticker.
It is, dude.
There's a crypto posse bumper sticker somewhere in there, and I think we've got 2 or 3 of those already. So, who knows what we've got coming? As you can see, we've already got the T-shirts. All of us are proudly wearing our crypto posse T-shirts today. Everywhere we go, people seem to be lighting up on the design, and we got more designs coming. This is the first one, so just letting you guys know. Anyone out there wants T-shirts, just let me know. So, I just wanted to jump in and say, Mike, what do you got for us today?
Well, I have some pretty exciting news that's kind of sliding under the radar, and that's has to do with the Stablecoin Act that is moving through Congress right now. So it's very exciting for the cryptocurrency, uh, you know, enthusiasts or space or whatever wording you'd like to use. But before we touch on that, just want to verify what a stable coin is. A stable coin is a digital currency that's pegged or backed 1-to-1 by the US dollar. And what it really does is it bridges traditional finance with digital currency. The Stablecoin Act is very, very important as far as having structure and regulatory framework for the digital currency space. And the fact that it's been cleared through the Senate Banking Committee is huge. And now it's headed towards Congress. And if we can get that approval, it's going to be huge for the cryptocurrency space and just the overall sentiment for institutional buyers, retail buyers, and overall sentiment for the cryptocurrency space.
Which is cool because I think, it really does tap into what Jeff had kind of touched on earlier in a different way, kind of backdooring it. But I mean, they all really connect really well. What do you guys think about this subject?
I mean, I think it's big for sure.
Yeah, I think that, I like to look at this space like puzzle pieces, right? So you have the puzzle piece of what Jeff brought to the table. You have the puzzle piece of what Mike brought to the table. And honestly, they blend very well because what Mike's talking about, if okay, so in the past, right? We've tried doing this with a different administration. We've tried these acts before and they didn't go anywhere, right? But now we're gaining traction, we're moving forward, and this does fit into what Trump has been saying, making the United States the crypto and AI capital of the world. That's how important what Mike is bringing up.
Yeah, plays a big part in the chance that could happen, right? I mean, all these things that are happening, uh, you know, just the way that it's laying out certainly seems to set forward a framework in a sense for a really progression. I know there's other factors that are, making things, a little tough out there and confusing with all these, new policy ideas that are being set forth in the current administration. But I think when it all kind of settles, if and when it does, these things, as you guys brought up today, really participate in the chance that things could get clicking like I think we might have thought it would have done already. But, hey, like I always say, we don't have a crystal ball, but I do think it sets forth us to believe that we might be looking at some sort of pretty aggressive run coming in the near future. But again, who knows?
We sure hope so. And with the stable coin, I mean, where would we have a safe place to hold our money if we didn't want to trade? I mean, so saying stable, and it is actually stable, pegged to the dollar. I mean, what would we do? What if you went from asset to asset, Bitcoin to XRP or whatever, but you didn't actually want to buy at that time? You have to have the safe spot to hold
to put it
your money. So whether, think about your next move, or you don't like the market, you stable it, let it, hopefully if it does go down, you get back in. So,
is it kind of like a digital, is it kind of like a digital security box?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you have, USDC, you have USDT, which is Tether. I know Will likes Tether. It does pair a lot better on certain exchanges. But I mean, just having those and the fact of them being stable is what we're looking for, because, crypto isn't stable. You have a safe spot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, and that in itself seems to me like it would really increase the amount of people that would want to come in the crypto space, and then that increases volume of trading, which I believe increases the index itself. The volume of trading would have to have a factor on price, supply and demand. I guess we're basically talking about supply and demand. If there's a ton of demand, then they generate. I mean, it just seems like it affects the numbers.
Well, and plus you're receiving interest holding these stable coins, which, I think we've touched before. I mean, just getting into the space, if somebody wanted to take the first step, they could just go get in, put their money into an exchange, or if you, go to a wallet and want to hold something, you can still hold the stable coin and you're still getting interest just as you would on a CD for a bank. And that would be the first step of getting into crypto. You kind of bought it, but it's stable, so you're safe.
Right.
And that's a great first step. You just took your money out of the banking system into the crypto system. That's the first step. And then you can kind of gain, get a little more comfortable watching the market, maybe your friends trade, watching us, whoever, and get it that way. And it's kind of the first step of just getting your feet wet.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, at the end of the day, the more and more people coming in are probably concerned about how to do it. So, just the fact that they can find us, tune into Crypto Posse and get a little information here and there about all kinds of different topics. I think there's a lot of value in that. Every day I encounter people who, I've said it every episode, I think, at least so far, is it every day I encounter people who would like to know more. And I tell them all the time, well, watch the show. I mean, we're not the only source of information. And like you said, we were talking privately yesterday. You tell people, well, check out YouTube videos too. Like we're not trying to say it's a one-stop shop. Come get everything you need to know from Crypto Posse. We just hope we're providing something of value in a way that is worth the time of investment to listen to us. And I think that's what we're doing here. I mean, these two topics today already are very base interesting. It's not like super advanced trading techniques or anything like that. It's just really base crypto awareness to come in, be aware of these things that are happening right now to hopefully make you feel comfortable to get involved. And if you're already involved, maybe it makes you feel a little more comfortable. because all that time when XRP was having to go through all that SEC, everything it was going through, I know it made a lot of people wonder because it's such a solid space potentially, but now seems to be like it's a green light. It's just like some sort of big fat crypto green light when we hear, what's going on right now. And with that, I would say, what about you, Will? What do you got for us today?
I'd like to unpack a couple key points that you just made, right? So one, so Mike brings to the table the framework that's being built out with stablecoins, right? We're already touched on this is the wild, wild west. So I could completely understand why people would be fearful of the volatility, right? I was just sharing how you've got a coin XRP that goes from 46 cents to 94 cents to 42 cents. Like that's scary to people, right? And I get it. Even Jeff and I have a mutual friend that's told me throughout the years, like, oh, I'm not getting into this space until you've got the regulatory framework dialed in. But then you go back to a point that you just made, right? It's buying the fear, right? I know somebody, and it was actually me as well. Dude, the moment that SEC case was broadcast to the world and that fear was injected into this crypto sphere, best know I fucking bought.
That's right, mister.
I did, right? Because we buy fear and we sell greed, right? But I wanted to ask Mike this question because
Another bumper sticker, a crypto posse, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Well, sorry.
and that's no. And that's what's beautiful about our posse, right? We're always building, right? I wouldn't be talking right now if it wasn't for the point that Jeff made. I wouldn't be bringing up stablecoins if Mike didn't bring that fire to the table, right? And what's beautiful too, and this is why I wanted to touch on it, because Jeff is literally dropping a gem, right? You got your money in this banking system. We already covered the fact that your money's sitting in the bank and you're not getting anything off your money. But yet that bank is loaning your money out 10 different ways. So it seems like they're making money on your money, right?
Yep.
But to kind of even bypass and why it's so important to what Mike brought up, because let's just say you're like, man, I want to dip my toe in the water. How do I do that? How do I not get caught up in this volatility? Well, this is not financial advice, but this is what I would do. I'd take my money out of the bank. I'd go buy the stablecoin USDC for the reason of BlackRock being tied to it. So it's not going anywhere. And we already made this point, Coinbase in the US. That actually fits with being the crypto and AI capital of the world. And when you see these puzzle pieces before the masses, before it gets popular, again, now you got me saying this, Joseph. That's where the fucking kashish is made.
Bring it, mister. Yeah, I like it.
And this is facts, right? This isn't Will's opinion. This is tried, true. Do it, right?
Yeah.
And then now you're buying this USD stable coin, and then what you do is you stake that, right? Which means that it's like you're giving it to the platform. You can't move it on and off, but what you are earning is about 4% on your money. So I leave it literally, not just to the posse, but I leave it to anybody tuning in and even in the comment section below, right? What would you rather do? You tell me. You want your money in the bank? Or do you want to be in control of your money and at least earn 4% on a stable coin that's for sure not going anywhere?
Hence
And
the
it's
name
stable.
stable. Hence
Exactly.
the name stable. It's
Which
very
means
well
that
named, right?
Bitcoin goes from 3K to 60K, all that volatility. Another example, but yet stablecoin is backed by the dollar 1 to 1, so it doesn't matter. You're just earning 4% on your money, sitting there doing the same thing it's doing in the bank. But now you've got control.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. why there would what would the downside be, but still I think that on some level we know everything we do, even putting your money in the bank. I mean, there's you know anything can happen. I don't care what they say. Any sort of meltdown could happen. I mean, whatever. You never know. But it just seems like if you knew how to do it, that makes a lot more sense to put it somewhere where you have access and also you're making at least some sort of percent. And then of course, if you make good moves, who knows? Maybe you could, do well with it and end up traveling the world surfing every day. I mean, I don't know. That's the dream for a lot of us. Some of us want to do other things, but I know that that's a kind of a fantasy of mine, even though some of us have done that already. It's just,
Right.
we're trying to do it again. So, yeah, I feel like, was there something connected to, I know you wanted to discuss some security stuff today, Will?
I do. I think it's just like I was speaking about mindset last episode. I think that security should be your number one before even thinking about putting any money into the crypto space. You should do your own research. And this is what I'd like to see, even with the posse, is get a hold of us in the comment section, ask the questions, because one, I could support you, help you, maybe guide you, give you some pointers, right? I'm not expecting anything in return. But at the same time, there's a lot of shit that I don't know, right? I'm never going to come across like a know-it-all, just like I was just sharing, right? I'm nothing without you guys, right? This is facts. What? I'm just going to sit in front of a computer screen with a camera talking to myself? No, I couldn't get what I'm sharing without your questions or without what Jeff and Mike are bringing to the table. So, yes, I do want to talk about security because it's that important, right? And so, for somebody who's new, what would be step number one? Well, step number one is you probably already have a bank account, but you don't know what exchange to go to, right? Doing research, I'll help you out a little bit. Start with Coinbase, right? Start with an exchange that's not going to go anywhere because there's exchanges that have failed. People have kept their money on the exchange, and when it failed, where do you think their money went?
Just liquidated. It became vapor.
Bye bye,
That's scary.
right? And I would like to do like a however many episode series on security
Yeah.
because it's vast, just like the crypto space. But step number one would be choosing your exchange, right? I just gave the example of Coinbase. Well, when you go to Coinbase's website, what's the first thing you got to do? You got to sign up for it. What's the first question they ask you? Enter your email. And that's what I'm touching on today. Let's just start with the basics, email, right? So when you get involved in the crypto space, I highly recommend getting a separate email specifically for crypto and only for crypto.
Good advice. Yeah, really good advice. I'm sure there's many reasons why that's good advice too.
Well, and I'm not here, and when I say something that somebody might perceive as negative, right? I just kindly ask you go look in the mirror because I'm not speaking negative. I'm trying to help.
Yeah, that's not negative at all. That's just trying to help people avoid the negative.
Exactly. So you're going to this exchange, you're signing up for it. We've got the email dialed in. Again, and the reason why I say that negative is I just personally would not use emails like Gmail or Yahoo because they're so popular and there's so much of people trying to phish, which is a hacking technique. I've actually experienced that too. Um, Another conversation because it goes kind of deep. But so now we've got the exchange, we got the email, the recommendation of don't use these bigger platforms because there's too much connected to them. They're too popular. There's too much room for error.
If those are the ones you would say probably not to do for your, crypto email, any that come to mind as far as good advice on which ones to use?
Beautiful question. Okay, so the number one that I would recommend would be Proton Mail. It's more encrypted. It's best for privacy and encryption. It has end-to-end encryption, right? It's a paid service. You can have like the free version of it, which only allows you to have so much that you could hold, like data-wise, how many emails you can get. But why wouldn't you want to, if let's just say even $1,000, because $1,000 is a lot to some people,
Sure.
especially that live paycheck to paycheck,
Sure.
right? And I'm like, oh, dude, $1,000. Well, this is where the research comes in, connecting with us, getting uh, these suggestions, and then investing into an email service that's encrypted. It's like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, it sounds like a no-brainer. Proton, any others?
Yes, and I looked this up because I've personally used Proton for this reason. Um, there's another one that's called, I'm probably gonna hack this one, but it's a Tuana Ota, Tutanota. It says that it's used most secure and it's an open end option.
Interesting.
Don't really know what that means, being honest.
I don't either, but
Uh,
it sounds fun. Open
it,
end. I mean, it
it
sounds
sounds
less
fun,
limiting, you know? Yeah, but that's good advice for
right?
people not only to know, just to get off some of the bigger ones for the obvious reasons of all the people that are on it and the vulnerability that would come, even though they're probably good for other reasons, but just for your crypto account, it's good advice. I think everyone's real thankful for some of those specifics here on Crypto Posse. I think that while we're not trying to tell you where to invest your money, that's none of our business. If we can influence you how to be safer, feel more secure, so that you jump in the space step by step and eventually feel comfortable, to get out there and try to get involved with that. I can't see anything but positive energy in that, and I know you bring boatloads of that, Will. So thank you so much for that topic. I know it's an endless topic, and we could do a full series just on security, and I look forward to more security talk with you in the future on episodes of Crypto Posse. Anything we can kind of generally jump into before we click out today, boys? Anything you guys want to discuss about
I wanted to
anything?
touch a little bit on the tariff trade schedule that's coming out April 2nd.
Nice.
Basically, what the tariff trade schedule is it's how we are going to apply the tariffs to other countries. So you've seen the aggressive acts by President Trump initiating these high tariffs. Mainly in the media, you've seen it with uh, Canada and Mexico.
Yeah, he's coming in hot on those countries, which is interesting. But yeah,
Yeah, and that's the main reason for that is because of the fentanyl. And so we would call those kind of punitive tariffs. Uh, but what we're hoping, in the crypto space is that we'd see some sort of easing from the, you know, super high tariffs that President Trump is trying to apply to these different countries, and that hopefully we could come to the bargaining table. I think that's really what he's doing by saying, I'm going to apply this 25% tariff, this, 15, 20% tariffs on steel, is really he just wants to bring the countries to the bargaining table and to realize that we've had, exorbitant high tariffs applied to us. And I think if we can come to some sort of more neutral ground with the tariffs, it's gonna definitely help the crypto market going forward. It's you know macroeconomics, inflation, tariffs, uh, interest rates, all really have negative effects on the traditional markets and also on the cryptocurrency market. So, over the last couple of months, we've had a lot of tariff talk, and it's definitely taken its toll on the stock market and crypto. We're getting a little bit of a rebound now, but I think if we can kind of, like I said, get to a little bit more level playing field as far as reciprocating tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, I should say. I think that it'll definitely help the market see some upside potential.
Seems to me like all that would just be good for global commerce as well, and not just for crypto. That all this tariff talk and all this intense, big numbers, big tariffs, is going to make big rattle and roll. But hopefully it'll settle down and people will come to the table and make some deals. I think Donald Trump just wants to make some deals. I know he wants to make some deals. His style is pretty unique. I don't think we've seen a president this aggressive in our lifetime, personally. Last one I think that kind of came in pretty strong was Ronald Reagan came in. I mean, Clinton brought in the free trade, which I think we know is some sort of strange scam, but maybe they meant well. I don't know. Maybe at the time it seemed like the right way to go, but as it developed, it turned into a really unfair trade. As we all believe. I don't know if we all believe, but a lot of us Americans believe that, we've kind of had some unfair deals out there, and Donald Trump, as a businessman, shows up and says, "Hey, man, I don't know what's going on here, but it's just so imbalanced. Who thinks this is sustainable for us? I mean, this works great for a lot of other countries, but he's coming in saying, hey, man, we got to even this out, whether it's NATO or whether it's how much Europe spends on Ukraine or what's going on in China or Canada or Mexico or all this stuff." I think he's just trying to, just throw it up in the air and say, hey, what's up with this? This deal sucks.
What he really wants to do is he wants to try to take a bite out of the $1.2 trillion global trade deficit that,
Yes.
So, hopefully, again, that, we can have more neutral ground and I think it'll have great impact on the crypto market going forward.
Yeah, I think he comes in so strong and it just needs to be negotiated. And then hopefully everything works out and we can kind of, get this even keel between everybody and then back to normal business, hopefully.
Yeah, it might even be kind of considered a type of style that's like, you say you're selling your car and you think, well, I kind of want 10 grand for it, but some people start at 15 because they know that someone's going to come in and say, well, how about 7.5, and then you're like, well, how about 12? It's one of those things. I just think his style is real aggressive. And on the global market, I don't think people are used to, or countries and their representatives are so used to a man with this kind of bravado, and he kind of swaggers in there and he comes in hot, but I think you're right. I mean, I hope you guys are right. I hope we're all right that it's a design of a style of negotiation that'll eventually settle into a talk that'll find common ground somewhere in the center, whether it be, all the topics we know that are on the table right now. And there are many that hopefully at one point this stuff will settle down. Some good deals will be made and the world will kind of start clicking into gear. And of course, we believe that crypto would be the recipient of great benefits if we could stabilize, beyond stable coin into stable planet, because it certainly seems like it's been a lot of hostility in the world. So,
Wasn't there a point in time in the U.S. history that we were already doing very well based upon these tariffs?
Not the ones that are currently in place, but there was a time when tariffs were much more favorable, I believe.
A lot of the money that was being brought into the U.S. was because of the tariffs that we had on everybody. And then you factor in too, with these tariffs, which I think is, the point that you're making, then we can get rid of the IRS and go back to how do you say it? So instead of it being internal, being external revenue service, right? And that's going to be done through these tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like whether people agree with it or not, go back in history, do your own research. And if I'm wrong, cool, I'm wrong. But I do know for a fact that there was a point in time that tariffs that was bringing all this money to the table. What other country taxes their people and then gives money free to other countries?
Yeah,
I believe
it's disgusting.
we're the only one, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if we're the only one, but it's gotten to a point that it's mind-boggling. Like we talk about, but let's just say the discussion of say, I just heard, I don't want to dive into politics. This show isn't about politics, but I'm just going to touch it for a second. I heard yesterday that apparently there's a ticket for 2028 that's already being discussed about AOC as a running mate for Bernie Sanders as they want to run for presidency. And I'm just like, wow. While there might be things I agree with Bernie on, I do agree with Bernie on his stance on big pharma. I like his stance on big pharma. I like some of it, the way he approaches the idea of big money on Wall Street, some of his ideas, but the man is basically a socialist. So it's like, what I feel like what we are is capitalists, and we need to defend capitalism. And I think crypto space really is pure capitalism. It's raw. It's like early days capitalism. So when they started putting tariffs in, I think that had to do with, I'm not sure, but I think it was after World War II, the global business needed a little bit of a framework. And I like the idea. I'm just going to present my idea for it. It's called fair trade. Fair trade means there's really no number that's separate. I would put forth a principle of fair trade, meaning let's just initiate a 10% across the board, top to bottom, all countries. All countries, in and out, 10%. Nothing to talk about anymore because we all pay 10%. It's not going to be better
fair
for you or, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, being fair. Everyone's at the same.
It's a policy that it's a part of a story I'm writing for a feature film, but it's about fair trade. It's a policy theory. I'm just going to propose 10% across the board, in and out. I don't care if you're Canada, Indonesia, whoever you are. It doesn't matter. 10% across the board. I'm also going to present open markets. Let's talk about toasters. I like to take toasters. Hey, I'd like to see what a Belgian toaster is like, or a South African toaster, or if they make toasters in Nigeria. I'd like to see a marketplace where all the toasters are available. And then we, through competition mentality, true capitalism, everyone pays 10% front and back on the tariffs. So I'm looking at a toaster that might cost $8 because it was made with cheap labor in some really, third world country. Or I might be looking at a Swiss toaster, and we know they make really fine things, and maybe that toaster costs $45. But maybe that toaster is made of, stainless steel and all this rad stuff, and it's going to last for like my grandchildren are going to be using it. Or the cheap one, maybe it only lasts for 3 months, but who knows? I'm just saying that I feel like if we just take toasters for an example, what about global open market? What does it matter what your politics are? We just want to buy or sell your stuff. Who cares? I'd love to go to the store and see toasters from all these countries. What do you guys think about that?
It's what you said. It's fair, right? And the fact that it's across the board is what gives it that fairness. I've even heard what you're talking about, even to do with taxes, right?
Yep.
Just tax everybody the same.
Yep.
Why? It'd be fair.
Think about this too. So say you make 100 grand, we're taxed on that. When you buy a house, we're taxed on that.
Yep.
You go buy a car, so you're taxing on tax.
And then when you buy the gas, everything you do, and then at the end of your life, once you've figured out how to finally put a little something away and maybe put something away for your kids, they tax that.
You taxed on your retirement.
God,
I was blown away when my grandfather told me how much taxes he paid on his retirement account. And I think it's if you take out a certain amount of money or whatever, but he used to pay he was pretty wealthy, did really well. He was a smart businessman, but he was paying like 7-8 grand a month in taxes on his retirement accounts. And it just blew my mind. Couldn't believe it.
It's just incredible how they've figured out how to turn this once was break away from, America was formed initially from the breakaway of Europeans who wanted to get away from high taxation, traveled on boats across the stormiest sea in the world. The Atlantic is such a stormy sea, and to come to these shores of this new land with the desire for freedom and entrepreneurship without the shackles of high taxation and imperialism on you. And, a couple 150 years later, and we're doing the same crap again. I feel like what you're talking about, Will, with a fair, my feeling in the same script that I'm working on. It's a kind of a political story, but it represents a couple policies. One is called fair flat tax. So the presentation of that is 20% flat tax across the board. Everyone pays. The key is no write-offs. A third grader could do his tax form. It's just basically, this is what I made. I give you 20%. See you later. You pay no difference if you made 100 grand or 100 million. You just pay 20% flat. Whatever you write off is none of our business. That's the cost of you doing business to make your money. That's where the scam lies. That's how the rich guys can really afford big time accountants and, to do all kinds of scams to their money, end up paying no taxes. And the medium guy or the little guy is paying pretty high. I mean, it's a struggle. So I would present 20% flat tax across the board. No ifs, ands, or buts, no write-offs. I wouldn't abolish the IRS. I would reduce the IRS by let's just say, even if we came in at somewhere between, let's just say we reduce the IRS by 25%. That saves hundreds of millions of dollars of cost. Now we can kind of restructure how we spend what you give us. I think that the American people would like to see us do better with the money they give us. Fair trade and fair flat tax would be the principle of this story that I'm writing, which, who knows? We'll see what happens with that. But I like to present those ideas because here we are at a time where, President Trump is, he pushes the narrative way the other way, and I think probably to try to come back to a center that's similar to what I'm talking about. I just think that you could cause maybe a little less of a big boulder in the lake. There's a large ripple effect to his style, as we see. There's a lot of but I think if you just came in, if I was president, brand new president, and I just came in and said, hey, I'm not trying to play hardball with anybody. I'm just saying, let's play fair, man. Come on, whatever country you are. China, Vietnam, Britain, Italy, Canada, Mexico, whoever. Let's just play fair. Tell me why a 10% tariff across the board flat with the idea to open up the worldwide. Let's just sell our stuff, man. You sell ours, we'll sell yours. Everyone gets 10%. I get to look at all kinds of toasters and take my American dollar and spend it on what I want. I'm not sure. I've never heard about it elsewhere, but I don't know why that's a bad idea. I'm all ears, not just to you guys, comments. You guys want to comment, send in emails. We'd love to answer them, get with you on, different stuff, whatever's going on. But I don't know. That's just something that's been in my head for quite some time. And now I got it on paper in script format in a project I'm working on. So see where it goes. But here we are, Crypto Posse, being able to not necessarily say this is a political show, but to also act like crypto can be aloof of politics is very naive and ignorant. Not saying we're naive and ignorant, but I know we don't like to get too political, but on some level, politics do play a role.
It all fits together, right? It's just this big puzzle we've been talking about, right? And because of the posse, right? Because of you guys, I'm already have these puzzle pieces, but what you're helping me do is piece it together, right? And you bring up, I pray that it's fair, right? But the harsh reality is, you go outside your front door, it's not fair. It's a dog-eat-dog world, which could be defined as capitalism, competition, right? And I love what you're talking about. It's like, dude, bring me a table of all these toasters, and I want the best one, dude. I don't want the plastic shit that's going to break 3 months down the road. If another country is making something better, why should I not have access to it?
And that's freedom of choice.
Yep. And I think it's good for the global market. I think that it says to the global market, it says to every country, hey, man, let's just buy and sell our stuff. Like, who cares about, they make it about so many things, like what their way they do their business. Like, it's all hypocrisy too, because we sell Chinese stuff. If we're so against communism and we stand so morally for capitalism, we're already doing business with everybody. Let's just make it fair trade. I call it fair trade. I would like to see it replace free trade. I think free trade is almost humorous. It's not really free. Nothing's free. All that did is basically legalize sweatshop labor. Okay, put a bunch of people being able to leave America to produce their goods elsewhere and then ship them back to us. We pay over here, but they send their money to some other, Cayman bank account. I mean, the whole thing fleeces jobs and productivity in our country. It's a terrible idea. It showed itself to really just make a few people really rich, and everyone could buy cheap stuff at Walmart. Great. But at the end of the day, we're stuck having to buy that cheap stuff because we're not thriving. And the way we thrive is to have a strong manufacturing sector that can sell our goods at home and elsewhere, and everyone else should have that chance too. And it should be your dollar that's your vote. Your dollar or your, foreign money, whatever your foreign money is, that can just really say, I'm voting for this product. It looks like it's well made and it fits in my, what I want. So what some people would want maybe there's a cheap one that actually works really good. Let's take cars, for example. Look how good Toyota is. Oh my God. Toyota cars are just made so well. It's incredible, right? And then other people are in the mix. Now there's Volkswagen, there's BMWs, there's American cars, there's, for instance, in Australia, they have a car called the Holden, right, Mike?
Yeah. The combi van.
Yeah, why don't I see a Holden in America? I know in Japan, someone's talking about these little trucks they have that everyone's thinking, we should import them or whatever. But I just feel like let's just open it up. Let's just see the cars of the world. Let's see them at the dealership when we come to America. Let's see every kind of car. Let's see electric. Let's see hydrogen. Let's see, what was the ones that are converted to run on the oil from the taco stand? Remember that a few years ago?
The diesel.
Yeah, it was like homemade diesel. What was
that?
It
was vegetable oil.
and you drive by someone and they smelled like Pedro's tacos, like their car smell.
It's just a conversion.
It's incredible though. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to pull up to the gas station and see all forms of energy represented. You could electronically charge your car. You could buy whatever, all the different, whatever options there were, it's just, it's an idea. I think it all fits into what we're talking about today. I know we've brought up a lot of stuff here at the end. So, likes, comments, followers, whatever, bring it. It's Crypto Posse. It's still one of our first few shows. I feel like we're getting better each week. And just really want to thank you guys for showing up today and get out there in this springtime weather and enjoy your day, man. We'll see you next week, misters.